Welcome back to the Mac Home Development YouTube channel. I'm Madison. I'm here with Cindy. We're here today to talk to you guys about how to prepare for your first flip after you've already found a house.
Depending on first how you buy it, if you're doing it personally or through business. Obviously, if you're doing it through a business, you need to have all of your business stuff set up. So if you're an LLC incorporated, you have to have all that paperwork. Usually title companies, closing attorneys want to see that to be able to close it, obviously. Those are something that you should just have already set up. I don't recommend closing a property in your personal just because there's a lot of liability, which is why we open the companies. But you can do it. But I would say make sure your business is set up. Obviously, if you're buying the house, hopefully you already have that done. And then once you get the property under contract, financing is your next important step. If you have the cash, obviously you don't need to worry about that. But if you don't have the cash and you're looking for hard money lenders, that's where you need to get that in line ASAP.
How would you go about finding hard money?
That's one that you can, there's all those real estate groups that we talk about, Facebook groups, meetups, networking events. A lot of those hard money lenders are there because they want to give people their money. Money doesn't make money by sitting in their account. So they want to give it to people. So those are places that you can find them. There's all kinds of online ones that you can Google, like national ones that you can do. Those are a little bit more difficult because they want to look at like tax returns and credit scores, things like that. But it's still doable. But you have to have that financing set up first and foremost, because obviously if you don't have the funds, you're not going to close on the property. Then it doesn't work anyways.
Say after you close and everything, how do you go about like contractors, materials, designing the house, things like that?
If you have a contractor in place, it's awesome. You're like way ahead of the game. But if you don't, then obviously you need to start looking Craigslist, Facebook, start Googling. They have the home advisors. You can find people all through there. But really just get, I would say 3 to 4 contractors, get them out there to get a bid together, tell them what you want to do with the property, and let them give you a number what they're going to do for the work. Have all those numbers up front, so then you put apples to apples of which contractor is, I would say, cost effective, but also does good work. Always check the recommendations. Always do I would say a soft background check, which is really Better Business Bureau. Make sure they have their license, so you can go online in whichever state you're in, Google for your state licensure. Always make sure they have insurance. It's important. Workman's comp. Those are number one things. Like once you're going to find a contractor, that you need to have all that in place to make sure that you're protected and that they're legit.
And then you also have said before that you recommend having like a contract, or at least like the bid signed. Both of you sign it.
That's what we do every time the bid. Once we agree on it, we're, this is hard facts, that we go down, I sign it, he signs it, and then we date it. And then every time that there's a change order, that's also in writing, and that's something that I initial and they initial, and a full description, how much is written on there and changed out, just so there's no I said this, you said that, no gray area. It's written down on paper.
So then your first contractor that you had, you said you lost money with him. Did you not have him sign a contract or sign his bid?
We did. But that was one that I didn't do my research. After I hired him, after I paid him a bulk of the money, things started getting weird and it felt weird, and I was like, I don't know. So then I did research and found out that he wasn't a legit company, that he didn't have a license, and that this wasn't the first time that he's taken somebody's money. So I found that all out midway, and yes, he signed a bid, but he wasn't even a legit company, so there wasn't much I could do. I could go after him personally, but there's court fees and that takes too much time. So it was one of those that it was just, you fire him and move on.
How do you come up with like the design plan and going to get materials and stuff like that? Like where do you get materials from? How much do they cost, like roughly, and how do you figure out like the good ones from the bad ones, and kind of how to make a house flow and things like that?
I mean, a lot of that is experience. And just going in. I mean, obviously, if you can, what I would say is once you are getting a house, then you want to look at the comps that are going to, you're trying to sell your house against, and see what those houses look like. Usually there's a lot of flipped ones when I'm flipping one, which is why I'm like, okay, this makes it a good house, that I can see how they did it. Is it an open floor plan? Did they use granite? Did they use white shaker cabinets? Did they put carpet versus hardwood floors? Those are things that I look at. So based on, I can go in and go, all right, well, I see that they did granite and got this number, I should probably do granite.
Okay.
Or I saw they did carpet, okay, I could probably get away with carpet.
Yeah.
So I do it based on what the comps in the area are showing that they did.
Okay.
And then we always get all of our materials, for the most part, from Lowe's.
Okay.
Home Depot, they obviously have everything. And we have a supplier for cabinets and granite.
Okay.
But just talking about regular materials, tile, things like that. Most of that's from Lowe's, Sherwin-Williams.
Okay.
And those are things that once you, if you're like, hey, I want to do this forever, like I love it, places like that have accounts that you can set up. They're called pro accounts, and you get 10% off. So Sherwin-Williams, Lowe's, I think Floor & Decor, these are all national ones that you can find anywhere. You can set up accounts with them, and you'll get 10 to 20% off on everything you purchase.
Okay.
So it saves a little bit of money.
Yeah. Do you have to spend a certain amount then to get?
Nope.
Okay.
As long as you have the account set up, every time they'll ring it up, you'll give them your account information, and then they'll give you the discount. But I mean, every little bit counts.
Yeah.
And I mean, all all I would say Home Depot, all of them have some kind of pro account that you can set up if you're going to start doing it regularly.
Yeah. So then, why did you find a supplier for like granite and counters instead of using like Lowe's or Home Depot?
So a cabinet supplier, because they kind of cut out the middleman in a certain sense, is a little bit more cheaper. If you use Lowe's or Home Depot, since they're a national one, the prices are a little bit more expensive.
Okay.
But if you go straight to like a factory one, which is what we do, the cabinets and granite are just slightly different, especially since they're local.
Okay.
You can get a better price.
And you just Googled those to find them?
I actually got the cabinet guy and the granite guy through recommendations. I just asked
Okay.
people who they used, who were they happy with, who did a good job.
Yeah.
And so I've been using that cabinet guy for 8 years now.
Okay.
So same guy, doing the same thing.
How do you figure out like the budget for your house? Like once you've already bought the house, I know you have kind of an estimate of like how much you want to spend on repairs, but how do you kind of finalize that budget and figure that all out?
Well, I mean, really, before you buy the house, you should have the budget in place.
Okay.
Just because you don't want to go, oh, I think it's $20,000. You really get in, you're like, oh crap, it's $40,000. Like that's going to throw your numbers off.
Right.
So really get the budget in place first. But then once I do have the bulk of the budget, then I go through and allocate what goes to cabinets, flooring, paint. So it's really just all depending on what the house needs.
Right.
And of course, something always comes up that you're like, oh, I didn't see that. Once walls start getting open and floors getting taken up, there's always stuff that you didn't see. But really, for the most part, we get the budget in place first.
Okay.
And then once we have that, we go through with the contractors and like, this is what we had allocated for you. And there's some negotiations there. But come to an agreement. But really, that's all. We have that in place and do that before closing, just so whenever closing happens, we're like, all right, everybody in, go, you know what you're doing, get out.
Okay. So then, would you say within budget, you were kind of talking, something always comes up, do you think people should kind of always estimate, is there like a certain number that you should be comfortable with going over your budget that you should plan for? I
would say have a buffer of like 10%.
Okay.
Of whatever the total job is. Like 10%, some people say 5, 10 is probably easier. But just in case that something comes up, something breaks, something happens that you didn't see.
With.
Yeah, because I mean, it's all it takes is, okay, you couldn't see behind the cabinets that all the wood was rotted and now you have to change all those. Well, that's going to be some extra money that you don't want to take out of maybe the granite that's going to help the price. So just always have a buffer. You just never know what's going to actually come up.
Okay.
Because for most houses, you can't start tearing things out and going through them before you buy it. So you're just really looking on the surface. So once people start taking stuff out and they start demoing, then it's like, okay. And I mean, we had that with our last one of, once we started demoing the bathroom, we realized that all the wood behind the tub was completely rotted. So that was, we had to replace all the wood all the way up to be able to retile it, and that's not something we could have solved without taking all that out.
Right. All right. If you guys enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up on YouTube, subscribe to our channel, and we will see you guys next week.